Who would be a Wolves fan, eh?
On goes Bull. People might yet win it here for Wolves. Flash in the shot. What a goal! Here's the place for you in all its magnificence.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Wolves Fancast. Matt Guy here alongside Adam, Tom and Dan. And we are here to discuss the resounding, I say with bated breath, victory over Southampton this weekend, the first of the Premier League. Let's get a bit of housekeeping out of the way first and foremost. Thank you to the Sports Social Podcast Network and fcquiz.app for their continued support. And if you want to get involved in everything that we do on Fancast, make sure you like and subscribe to our social media channels at Wolves Fancast and press that like button. It will really help us get a wider reach as possible. Gentlemen, I hope you're all well this evening and buoyed after a rare victory. How are you all doing this evening?
Relief.
Still just a bit, relief is the overwhelming feeling since yesterday. Obviously, I did our second Twitter Spaces live after the match, which you joined me for briefly, Matt. It was a lot more of a better vibe from the previous week against Crystal Palace, but there's still a majority of people out there that think that yesterday's wins are papering over the cracks.
There absolutely is. We're going to get into all of it this evening on the stream. And firstly, thank you, David, the first one to get in touch with us this evening. As many of you as possible, get in touch and let us know how you feel after the win, because normally we try to be as upbeat as possible, but I just get there's an inkling, there's a feel, there's a current of still a bit of doom and gloom, which I do totally understand, and we'll get into the weeds with that as we get in. I mean, first and foremost, Pricey, you before the game, we were all talking in our separate groups and everything of what this game meant. Before we get into the lineups, the pressure of this game, talk me through what it felt like for you going into this game, what it meant, what the implications of a win, lose, or a draw would have been.
Technical terms, shit or bust, wasn't it? Basically, if you Gary O'Neill, I'd spoken to someone about one of the club contacts before the game, and I think they said O'Neill knows full well that he's, to paraphrase, drinking a last chance saloon really with this game. I think all us fans felt it. Everyone. I know that this bad form has been going on for like pretty much this whole calendar year, but this was the game, that quote unquote, that the difficult run was over, and now we're looking at the games where the pressure's been cranked up to 11 to get that win. And I think it was a case of like, if this team can't get a win, well, a convincing win, but not a win against the Southampton team. If you can't win against that, then I wouldn't even like to think of where we would have gone from there, to be honest. But yeah, it was just all eyes on it, all pressure on it. I think he said himself, hadn't he, O'Neill? He had them in earlier this week for training, in preparation for this game. Yeah, it was just like pressure cranked up to the max. It was just literally it wasn't a must not lose. It was a must win game.
Yeah, Tom, from your point of view, did you feel the same? Any pre-match tension and nerves? What was your feeling prior to kickoff?
Yeah, absolutely. It was huge. I mean, I think we can safely say whoever finishes below Southampton is 100% getting relegated. I just don't think there's any doubt about that. In fact, if the team finishes below Southampton, they'll be finishing bottom because they were dog shit. So yeah, we had to win. It was just absolutely must win. And however that came, it didn't really matter. Although, I mean, we'll get onto it obviously, but at half time, the overriding feeling wasn't really of any joy, to be fair, because I think it was a really, really shoddy performance first half.
Mm-hmm. So going into just prior to the game, Dan, the lineups came out and obviously Sarabia in, and we've got our own thoughts. We've got our own individual thoughts on Sarabia. When you saw that lineup, did that inspire you? Did you think to yourself, we've got this in the bag. This is a team. This is how I would have set up. What were your thoughts when you saw this 11?
Gary O'Neill's lineup's a bit lottery-esque at the moment in regards to what we want as a fan base, what we think's going to be needed as a minimum to get 3 points. I thought that lineup there should be getting 3 points, but for me, it didn't feel as front foot as I wanted it to be. At 1:45 yesterday, I didn't feel like we needed that third centre half against Southampton with their form, obviously their league position. I probably would have sacrificed one of those three centre halves and a bit more, maybe someone, maybe sort of like a 4-2-3-1 with maybe even like Guedes or Forbes starting behind Larson, Cunha, and Sarabia. But like I said, there's no sort of optimism at the moment. I feel like there was so much pensive anticipation going into the game yesterday. I said before the Crystal Palace game, but the Crystal Palace game was a must-win. For me. Not getting the win before Crystal Palace, that wouldn't have got us at the relegation zone for me. So that was a must-win. Yesterday was not only a must-win, it needs to be a convincing win. And that's why I felt that Gary tried to play it maybe a bit safe yesterday. But like I mentioned originally, I think that starting lineup should have been a team strong enough to get 3 points yesterday.
Yeah, completely agree. I don't know the ins and outs of. Well, I'll let the people in the comments speculate on this. There was a bit of to and fro in whether Johnston was playing as a substitutes bench or not, and whether it was Bentley in, Bentley out. And Sarr at one point in the game went down injured. Whether that was a tactical decision from him just to allow, because both teams had a breather and went back to their respective dugouts for that. But the lineup itself here, I agree. There seems to be a roll of the dice from Gary O'Neill in every game. I don't think, like Danny P in the comments has said, that Gary doesn't seem to know his strongest starting 11. I think, and Tom, I want to come to you on this one. I think the people that are not playing is sometimes more telling. So players like Guedes, Forbes, Bellegarde, Rodrigo Gomez, who is basically a money laundering operation at the moment. It just seems Gary O'Neill, does he not know his best 11? What do you think?
I mean, I've banged on the group for ages about Rodri Gomez. I mean, I don't know what the kid's got to do to get a game, and it seems bizarre to me that O'Neill preached everything about pre-season, how it was massively important, get his ideas across, his team across, X, Y, and Z. He was the mainstay of the team. It seemed to be in pre-season. Everything seemed to go through him. He was in the team all the time. Started the game against Arsenal, and he's literally not been seen since. So he's sort of just thrown that idea out for whatever reason. And it wasn't, I mean, it's ages ago now. I can't, remember him standing out for all the wrong reasons against Arsenal. And I mean, when he came on, he was running, he obviously clearly had a point to prove. I think even in the Brighton game and the Cup game, I seem to remember him having a really good game there. So I don't know what he's got to do to get a game. Forbes seems to be in and out, game dependent. But I think you could make a case for any of those four you just mentioned there, Matt, to be ahead of Sarabia after his performance against Palace. And I always think, okay, Sarabia didn't have a look in much this season. He did okay when he came on, but whenever he seems to start, he just seems to be awful. And barring his goal yesterday, that trend just continued for me. He offers very, very little off the ball in particular.
Sound a little bit like Gary and his presser there about Cunha. Apart from his fantastic performance goal, he needs to do better. Now, Pricey, I want to come to you because you are the man with the only man with a longer reach than Gary Barlow's son when it comes to the Wolves community here. You snapped the photo that was seen around the Twitter world of the main man himself there, Ruben Neves. I'm guessing you were there for the buses and there with your son for the snaps with the pictures. What was it like seeing Neves walk in, and what emotions did it flutter in your heart?
Yeah, the Fancast roving reporter on the front lines with all the coach writers. Yeah, we'd gone down. I mean, to be honest, I think we kind of knew in the days leading up to the game. People have put on socials, that he's going to be in attendance. So we thought we'd go down and see the coaches coming, as we do on odd occasions. And I could see that there was a bit more activity than normal with the security there and player liaison officers frantically on phones and stuff. So you could tell that something was in the air. and then these two people carriers pulled up opposite the Billy Wright, and 8 steps to the man. I knew he had surgery. Also, I wasn't expecting how bad the surgery was. So as you can see from like the photo, or kind of make out on the photo, and obviously when he come out at half time, you can see he's on crutches. There was a bit of an initial swell of people wanting to get to him, but he was swiftly shepherded in past everyone into the ground, as you probably expect. But yeah, it just seeing that beautiful man's face in the flesh was just enough to bring back all those lovely 6-year memories, and especially when they put the goals up at half time as well. I mean, the man's got the freedom of Wolverhampton, hasn't he? He shouldn't have to
Really
pay
does.
for a meal, a drink. He shouldn't have to pay for a Cinderella's lap dance. Nothing. He shouldn't have to pay for a thing in this city. It was great to see him back. I know he was pretty much a flying visit by the sounds of it, or by the looks of it. I think he's already gone. I think he's safely back home already. But it's good that he kept his word. He always said he would come back. Albeit he did say he would be in the South Bank, but he wasn't going to go in the South Bank in crutches.
Yeah, it was fantastic to see him there. I mean, we have got a little clip there before I go to Dan. I want to get his thoughts on something when we got a little clip of the fan base's reaction to Neves at the stadium. Now, I'm hard-pressed, Dan, to find anybody on the Fancast with more passion for this team and club than you. When I've seen some of the videos of you running down the stairs at different away games, I'm not sure I've got it in me. But so from your point of view, Neves, what does he mean to you, and what was it like seeing Neves back on the pitch? Did it stir up any emotions for you yesterday?
He is that guy, isn't he, that we all dream of. I ain't even got any daughters, but he's the sort of man that I'd want my daughters to bring home. He's just the epitome of everything that you want to be, isn't he? He's technically brilliant, but from a personality, humble point of view, he's 10 out of 10, isn't he? He's just what a man, without sort of going too deep into physical attraction and all that sort of vibe. I don't know what else to say about the guy. He's special to a lot of people, special to me. He gave me my first sort of moment post my mum passing away, where I thought I might be able to get on with life, because football's huge to a lot of people, isn't it? But I think my mum passed away on the Wednesday morning. We beat Sheffield Wednesday 1-0 away on the Friday night. And those 2 days up until that moment that Ruben Neves scored, I thought I might as well just drink myself into oblivion, how down I was. And that's sort of the man that he is. And that promotion season, not just Ruben Neves, Connor Cody, all that group of players, there's a special place in everyone's heart for that group of players. And I think he was a bit sort of taken aback, wasn't he, at half time, how big the reaction was. But there's only a certain number of players, probably him, Steve Bull, and a handful of others, that have got sort of eternal love of him in our city, and can't really ask much more. I wanted him to be in the South Bank. I was massively concerned that the run that we were going to embarrass ourselves in front of him. I was sort of at half time jokingly to my mates that we're not really selling the project for him to come back at the moment, but it was all about getting 3 points yesterday, and thankfully upon his return we got that.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Tom, I'm going to ask you the difficult question here, because for all the things he was saying, and everybody's hoping, do we see Neves in a Wolves shirt again at the tail end of his career?
Let's say yes. Go on, I'll keep some optimism going as we win a bloody game. We'll keep it going. Yeah, why not? Why not? If not, it'll be some sort of bloody charity thing, won't it? So we'll see him in some shape or form, no doubt.
It'll be the Sarabia 10-year
Jesus Christ
testimonial game he'll come back for. Let us know in the comments if you think Neves will make a return to Wolves, and in what circumstances, or like a dream WrestleMania card, what the game would be he comes back for. Tom, I'll still come back to you though, mate. The game got underway, and very, very quickly Wolves got on the score sheet. Wonderful work by Cunha. Charged through the goal, the fastest Wolves goal in the Premier League, charging through the middle of the pitch. A lovely ball into Sarabia, who goes around the keeper, nets in for a goal within 2 minutes. We just showed a clip of it as I'm talking there. I'm not going to go into the realms of if we scored too early. However, it was a bang fast start, and Wolves got on the score sheet straight away. How were you feeling at that time?
Oh, like relieved, like Dan opened the show with, absolutely just relief, because it would have been. I mean, everyone was on edge. You could tell it even before the game kicked off. There was like an edginess about Molineux, I thought, and it would have only taken a couple of bad passes at around 8, 9, 10 minutes for the crowd to for that to transmit onto the players. So I think it was a really big big moment. And then who knows what Southampton had done? It's hard to say. Maybe it wouldn't have affected anything too much. You don't really know, but they could have had a ploy just to sit in and sort of frustrate, and then as the game went on, try to come out a little bit more. But obviously that robbed them of that. So from that point of view, it was good just to play on our terms, sort of for a change, really.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Pricey, from your point of view, Sarabia, lovely touch. The goal set up though by Cunha here. He's the main man of this particular set of the Wolves' offence completely. He must go a good 30 yards or so before he lays that ball off. It has to be exciting for every player, and it has to be a nightmare for any defender when Cunha gets on the ball in those positions 10 yards in front of the halfway line, because the way he drives is so fluid, isn't it?
Yeah, he's got to be a talisman at the minute. I think I did see a stat, but I can't remember off the top of my head now about this calendar year how many goals and assists he's been a part of. And he's right at the top. He's right up there. But he's our go-to guy. Similar to how in seasons gone by we've looked at Neto to do something similar to drive the team forward. And he does just that. He's one of our most exciting players. When he gets into that specific spot there for that goal, when he's got space and time to drive forward, it's just what he does best. Brings other players into play as well. The through ball was fantastic for Sarabia there. I think it was Aït-Nouri and Larson with the other potential options, but he's timed it perfectly. Sarabia did this week what he didn't do last week, and taking the chance basically. We all know the two that he missed the previous week against Palace. I think it's only kind of him that scores that goal, really, how the ball was played to touch it and then put it onto his finishing foot to slot it away. I thought it great, absolutely great start. And to me, at that point, I just thought, here we go. This is exactly what we wanted. I did, funny enough, as you say, Matt, I did say to the chat next to me, I did say, have we done the old score too early cliche? But my overriding thought was, as we said before, they've been training longer than ever for this game this week. They clearly know what they're going to do. They've gone out like a train, took the lead early. So at that particular point, I was buzzing, but it just didn't. The sort of the fire burnt out a bit after that, didn't it? And kind of rather than push forward, we just seemed to, turn to Gary Southgate and sit on the lead.
Well, you're right there, and Dan, I ask you about this. The game plan post the goal seemed to be very much allow Southampton, the away team, to have all of the possession and we break on the counter, it felt like. And a team better than Southampton would have punished us with the amount of possession that they had. Were you comfortable with the game plan, allowing them to have so much of the ball? I think the game ended 71% possession there or thereabouts for Southampton. It made me uncomfortable. How did you feel as the game was progressing?
It's never enjoyable or comfortable to watch a Wolves team at Molineux have so little of the ball, but sort of begrudgingly. And Gary O'Neill did say in his pre-match press conference that the fan base, the atmosphere needed to be sort of willing to accept that we weren't going to have a lot of the ball yesterday. I don't think anyone, even Gary himself, would have probably envisaged that we'd have so little of it. But he mentioned that was the game plan, was obviously try and turn them over as much as we can and then get our front three in their half driving at their defence, because it is literally sort of 3-on-3, 4-on-3, isn't it, every time we turned them over. And when you got Matheus Cunha driving at a defence like that, he's always going to cause problems. I thought he was the main example yesterday. I think if Matheus Cunha was playing for Southampton yesterday, we lose that game.
Mm-hmm. Easily. Yeah, I agree. I think one of the main concerns from my point of view, and Russell Martin and his Southampton team have tried all sorts of training ground cute routines when it comes to set pieces, and Tom, they, within the first 10, 15 minutes, were given a number of corners and set pieces to hurt Wolves. Obviously, none of those went in, but were you comfortable with Southampton having so much of the ball, or actually, did you think Wolves defended in those scenarios well?
I think there's a balance to be had, and I think we were probably the wrong side of that balance, to be honest. I will say that Southampton didn't create much, but I think that was more a lack of quality on their front, maybe, than good defending on ours. Sorry, I'm going to have to bring him up again, but it always seems to be on our right-hand side, no matter who plays on our right, whether it's Lamina when he's playing that stupid role, whether it's Cunha, or whether it's Sarabia. No one ever, Semedo's always got two men every single time. And the amount of time Sarabia was just pointing his man off every time, it was really winding me up. I think that's why he got dragged at half time, actually, because defensively he was contributing absolutely nothing. He was literally marking thin air. So I think we were probably on the wrong side of that, personally. I still will get onto the goal, I'm sure. I don't have any arguments about their goal being disallowed, but it would only take a slip up like that, and or just a set piece, because we've been absolutely awful from set pieces this season. That's all it takes, isn't it? For us to then the game plan's out the window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong at all. So you make a really, really valid point there, and I don't know how people listening live felt about this, but for all of the Southampton huff and puff, Jose Sarri didn't really have a lot to do. I don't recall him having to make a really meaningful save. There's one that whistled past his post, but he had it covered anyway, should it have got anywhere near on target. So, the game plan, as frustrating as a watch it was working, I guess. Beggars can't be choosers in some respects. We just needed the win absolutely more than anything. But the game wasn't without its controversy, Price, was it? There were two main incidents, really. The first one was the goal that was ruled out with Semedo being involved. What was your take during the game when this happened, where the goal was ruled out? It was initially given, or at least from my position in the Billy Wright Upper on comms yesterday, I didn't physically see the referee kind of point for the goal, which was the interesting thing for me, because I think everybody started to trudge back towards the halfway line. But I was like, there's obviously controversy going on here. But what was your viewpoint? What did you see that had happened? And did you think it would be chalked off?
So from where I sit, Billy Wright Lower, it was one of the more awkward angles, I guess, for me to get a proper good look at it at the time. But gauging the player reaction, I thought initially that it was going to stand, that it was a genuine, a bona fide goal, because I think Southampton players were very happy to go back in their own half to reset to start the game again. I don't think I saw that many Wolves players protest, for the foul. But then I did put my eyes on the ref a lot, because I could see that he was I could see the hand to the ear and he was checking. And I don't know, for some reason, I don't know why, I'm not going to explain it, but I felt quite confident that it would get chalked off. Kind of hard to put my finger on it, but the more, we kind of know, especially when they're sent to the screen now, there's so little decisions where the referee sticks with his initial decision when he goes to the monitor. It's always going to get overturned. And I know we've got this ridiculously negative stats so far with VAR, but even with us, with our shit luck with VAR, when the ref goes to the monitor, you're kind of confident that he's going to overturn it. And we mentioned before about Semedo, and there was visible signs on his ankle about being felled. I don't know if it was actually from that or previous fell, but when you look at it back, you think, like as Andy says in the comments there, it looked like he got taken out. We saw some of the match of the day analysis, a quick bit questionable analysis there. You're bringing it up on screen for the YouTube viewers there, like Alan Shearer saying that Semedo is not playing the ball and steps across him. Well, you are allowed to do that as far as the way as far as a defender, you are allowed to put yourself between the ball. So I'm not sure what is going on with there, but for me, yeah, as time went on, I was getting quite confident he's going to be ruled out, and we've actually got the VAR in our favour. So remember the date and time.
I mean, looking at the still here that we've got, unless Semedo's doing the old solid snake in the prison cell tomato sauce sachet, then there's it looks a pretty painful one here. Dan, I said on the spaces that you were involved with that Russell Martin said in his press conference that if Semedo was his defender, he'd have been absolutely delighted with the way that he handled that challenge and that instance in front of goal. Is this smart defending, clumsy attacking? Did the referee get it spot on? Did the referee fumble this? What was your take on it as much of a neutral as possible?
It's clever defending by Semedo. The referee gave that exact same foul 3 or 4 different occasions outside the box during that game. I don't understand how I gave myself a headache calling the referee a useless prick for about 5 minutes after that incident, because instantly in real time it was a blatant foul. Like you said, Semedo stepped across him and the player's gone through the back of him. You can see sort of Semedo's holding his hamstring where he's gone through the back of him there. The thing that sort of gave me more confidence is the fact that obviously Semedo just refused to get up for the majority whilst that incident was being checked.
Mm-hmm.
And I just couldn't mentally grasp how the referee hadn't given it. He wasn't impeded with his view. It was no more than sort of 5-6 yards away from the collision. It flabbergasted me how he didn't give it in real time. But like you said, even with the sort of the bad run that we've had with VAR, I couldn't see it not being overturned, and thankfully it was. Alan Shearer was in that match of the day saying Southampton have been hard done by. Nelson Semedo steps across him. It's like Price said, he stepped across him and he's initiated the contact, and the contact has come. 9 times out of 10, that happens every 10-15 minutes in the outfield, and referees give fouls for it. I was just flabbergasted how we didn't give it in real time. I understand that Southampton would feel hard done by, but I don't see how we didn't give it in real time. And I think even the most staunch Southampton fan, when they see the incident, surely they've got to agree that it's a foul, but it's football tribalism, isn't it? It
is, and Russell Martin had said himself. He said, "I was expecting either a penalty, or a goal," and I was like, "A penalty?" Like I just couldn't. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But again, the tribalism. I suppose he's got to talk about it. He was very humble about that. He said during his press conference that they didn't do enough, regardless of the incidents. So, I think he probably knows in his heart of hearts when he tucks himself in with an Ovaltine at night what the outcome was. But that wasn't the end of the controversy, Tom. There was Wolves' second goal of the game was as a result, from at least a Southampton point of view, of a foul, admittedly a few phases behind play, in which Dawson and Santi Bueno were involved with. Having seen the highlights back and all of the angles that we get when we watch it via highlights on TV, is there any meat in this claim, or again, is it just 50-50 and Southampton may feel hard done by, but that's the way it goes?
Yeah, I think that was my view. I think they were probably like 50-50 at best. I mean, the first one, it's Santi, the first one. It's just gone through the player's legs. Like, I don't think there was anything in that whatsoever. The Dawson one maybe a tiny bit. I think Dawson's got a little bit of his shirt on his shoulder, but again, you see that literally every minute in the game. I know we were very sketchy about VAR and its definition, but neither of them were clear and obvious errors. So again, I'm never confident with VAR, so I'm not going to say I was confident, but to chalk off a goal like that for those incidents would have been picky at best. Yeah. And if nothing else, it pissed Ramsdale off to a treat, and so there's definitely no need to stop that from happening.
Yeah, I mean, he had a stinker generally, and it sounds bizarre to say this, but to have the entire of one stand verbally abuse someone for the best part of 2 hours, sorry. But it was great to see everybody getting into Ramsdale as well, and getting in his head and trying to put him off his game. It was, it's what you expect from like the rabid crowd that Gary O'Neill said he needed from the team. Before we go to the break, I just want to have a quick look at Wolves' attacking prowess during the game and a kind of rundown of the chances that were created during the game. Wolves had a number of opportunities, a lot of blocked shots, a couple saved, obviously the 2 goals. Dan, from your point of view, did Wolves do enough? Obviously, they did enough to win the game. We all know that. But did they do enough for you for what they were up against? A really poor Southampton side. Did Wolves do enough for you?
Overall, no. Even more so after we went 2-0 up, we really should have tried to improve our goal difference. I thought yesterday, I think after the second goal, when you saw sort of Southampton's belief drain, their sort of assured passing went a bit more erratic, I found. But you look at the glossary there, we just never really caused Ramsdale enough pressure on his goal yesterday. I think we had a few opportunities where the final ball from Ait-Nouri a couple of times probably would have ended up in a tap-in for, I think Bellegarde had one at the back post, and I think there was another one where it ended up just being too high for Bellegarde at the back post. Yeah, for me, we didn't cause them anywhere near enough problems, but I felt that was purely due to the just lack of belief and confidence going into the game on the back of the run. It's when you going that sort of long without picking up wins, I think mentally it's going to have a bit of a weight upon them. And a lot of those players I thought yesterday were a bit safe when they needed to be a bit more proactive. I thought Ryan Ait-Nouri had a very poor game by his standards yesterday. There was a couple of times where he's just too nonchalant on the ball for me at times. He's too cute for his own good. There was the one moment in the first half where the whole stadium sort of turned on him at one moment when he should have played Cunha down the line, and he ended up going, I think he went sideways or backwards. And someone mentioned to me after the game yesterday that they thought Ryan Ait-Nouri was the only player who doesn't seem like he's playing for Gary O'Neill at the moment. I don't know about your opinion on that, man.
I don't know if it's not playing for the man. I think it's the man, Gary O'Neill, isn't impressing his views on how the team should play, or there isn't enough of an identity of how the team should play. So I think he is the one that is translating it difficultly more than anybody else, Ait-Nouri. I don't think he knows what he should be doing. He knows what he wants to do. He gets in a position to do what he wants to do. And then I think something clicks in his head where he goes, this isn't how I've been told to play. Instead of doing X, I'll do Y. And I think there's a hesitancy from a lot of players in this team that they don't agree with the system. I don't think they dislike the man, but I don't know if they agree or believe in what he believes. I don't know if I'm off the mark in the comments for the live chat. Please let me know, because that's just how I feel about it. And that's one of a million opinions on the Wolves. So I'd love to know if you think that they're playing for the man or they're playing for the system. We'll have a quick talk about some players before we go for a very, very short break. Cunha, obviously, I think is going to be everyone's man of the match price. Is he your man of the match?
Yeah, easily. I mean, I think it's not hard for him to stand out. I mean, like say, given the lack of belief in the squad at the moment, and rightly so, given how bad we were. I mean, for me, I think we did the bare minimum needed yesterday. The bare minimum. I mean, we talked earlier about possession, right? And like you say, it finished 29-71 in their favour, which, when you think about it, right, is ridiculous. Isn't it really? It's ridiculous. If you'd gone to someone else and said Wolves have just played someone at home and the possession was 29-71, they'd say, bloody hell, have you played Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal or something? When you say, no, we played a team that arguably is shitter than us, right? You say, well, how has that possibly been allowed to happen, you know? So I think we've done the bare minimum there yesterday. The comments say, like Brett's in the comments has put that, you know, without Cunha, where would we be? So he quite easily just stands out in this team at the minute, the maverick that he is, and we'll obviously come on to a bit later, you know, what other comments O'Neill's had to say about him. But I think without him, we would definitely struggle easily. it's just one of those at the minute where he's just there. He's our star boy at the minute, like I said earlier, like Neto was before. He's that guy. He's got that role for us at the minute.
Okay, let's have a quick look at the goal, the second goal, before I come to you, Tom, because there's no way this goal doesn't give you the man of the match, does it?
It's brilliant. So good. It's one that gets you out of your seats. Good and proper goals, that one. Considering we didn't score from outside the box last season, it was nice to see someone having a shot from there. I think Dan summed it up perfectly earlier. If he's on the other team, it's probably the opposite score. I think it's probably 2-0 Southampton. I just think, going back to O'Neill, what is this? What's the style he's trying to play? Has he got a style? For me, I don't think we can build an attack in possession. I think we've got two modes of, you can argue three. One is just give it to Cunha, see what happens with him. Counter-attacking, which has always been the Wolves' way since Nuno, or do a high press and try and win the ball high up the pitch. But when we've actually got to physically try and build an attack from the back, we don't seem to have a clue what we're doing. It usually ends up going to one of the fullbacks just to chip it down the line and then see what happens. As shit as Southampton were, and I'm not saying let's turn into Southampton, you could actually see they have a style of play. I mean, it's crap.
Oh yeah,
but they've got their managers implemented a style of play onto them. What is our style? Because I don't think we've got one.
I agree wholeheartedly. Dan, I'm going to give you the final say before we have a break. Were there any other players that within a grabbing distance of man of the match will deserve a shout out? Because the second half, unfortunately, we're going to have to go into some of the negatives. And so, from your point of view, are there any other standout players that you think deserve a mention?
I think we've all sort of agreed. I've not met many other people over the weekend who've said it wasn't Matheus Cunha man of the match, but I just don't see how you can't give some sort of plaudits to Totti yesterday. I thought out of the back line, he was the most solid, aggressive in a lot of his challenges yesterday. There was a few times where they managed to sort of break beyond our back line. His pace got us out of a couple of situations. And I think in probably the last month, I've been a bit dubious of Totti. I think the start of the season, I was dubious of him in the back four with Mosquera. But I think the last couple of games away at Brighton and yesterday, I thought he's done himself proud. And I think he's a player. I classed him sort of as a good Ronald Zubar to a guy in the ground yesterday. I think he's a player that will run through wall sphere. And I think you need them sort of players at times, especially when you're in a battle down the bottom. And I think unless, thankfully I had Matheus Cunha as captain in my fantasy Premier League team yesterday. I was shit or bust on that, so I went with Cunha. But yeah, I think Totti did himself no harm yesterday. I think he would have got man of the match if Cunha hadn't such a great day. But the guy on the right there, Jurgen Strand-Larsen, I don't know how he doesn't go to sleep muttering anger to himself, because being a sort of 6'4" target man and you're getting little to no service, you've got two out and out wingers like Forbes and Rodrigo Gomez on the bench. And I think that's the sort of winger that he's crying out for at the moment. And he's got a decent shot accuracy percentage when you look at the stats. And I think he's on like 3 or 4 goals now, isn't he, for the season? He's probably overachieving for the amount of service that he's getting for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think he's getting the history books, at least so far, won't be as kind as the performances, like, actually deem or deserve, really. I completely agree with you. So we're going to have a quick break now. For those that are watching along live, it will be only moments, but we're going to come back, and I'm going to have to ask the audience as well, are you still Gary in or out after this result? But we'll be back with you in just a moment. Welcome back to Wolves Fancast. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Once again, thanks to the Sports Social Podcast Network and fcquiz.app for their continued support. Make sure that you are following Wolves Fancast on the social media platforms. Press the like button to help us get as much reach as physically possible as well. There's also the Wolves Teemill store, or the Fancast Teemill store, I should say, for all of your Fancast merchandise. There's some really great unique t-shirts on there as well. So make sure that you're having a look at that this weekend to celebrate. Why not? Now, as positive as we tried to be in the first half of the show, fortunately, we are going to have to be slightly on the negative this afternoon. I want to just talk about a couple of the player performances firstly before we go to where we are in the league table. Pricey, for me, I think Aït-Nouri had a poor game. I don't think Lamina had an awful game, but there was a chance where Jürgen Strand-Larsen was busting a gut up the field, and he just stopped completely. He didn't have the out ball, Larsen to pass it off. There were a few performances in that team that were just lethargic and lacked that zip. Was there anybody in particular that you weren't impressed by yesterday?
It's tricky in a way because, like I said, Southampton had so much of the ball. From judging it on the performance based on what we did with the ball, we don't, it's slim pickings really from what we had. But, Gomez was played. I thought he played okay again. You're right to single out Lamina because to me, I've been focusing a bit on his body language as well, and he seems to be sort of carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders sometimes. Lamina does, and that probably comes with the territory of being captain of a team that is losing almost week after week. Maybe it's starting to weigh a little bit heavy on him because, as I say, he hasn't looked his sort of vibrant self where last season he was willing to drive the team forward, and we constantly said on this podcast how often he pleasantly surprised us last season. Well, we haven't said that for quite a while now. And Aït-Nouri, well, I mean, he's what he is. Sometimes you flip a coin and what he does next. Sometimes his opponent doesn't know what he's doing next because Aït-Nouri himself doesn't even know what he's going to do next. You get the feeling with him sometimes he'll produce moments of brilliance, but then you could get like something like yesterday where he hasn't really covered himself in glory. But yeah, that's for me. It was Lamina who I had my eyes on closely yesterday, and I thought he was a bit below par.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you've put there. From your point of view, Dan, we mentioned about the style that the team are trying to implement or the team are playing, and Gary O'Neill has a huge part to play in this. What's your opinion on this in terms of, are the team not playing how he wants them to play, or are the team not capable of playing the way he wants to play, or do the team not know how they should be playing?
I think it's fallen down to the latter. I don't think they know how to play now. When he first came in, he talked about too many of the players sort of playing off the cuff. I think it's got to a point now where he's drowning these players in that much information they don't know how to play face to face. I think you talked about Aït-Nouri, Justin. He doesn't seem to be invested in the way that Gary wants to play, or he just doesn't know where to pass in certain situations. It's frustrating. I think one of the biggest points at the moment is why a lot of people have turned against Gary O'Neill, bar the results, is that the group of players that we've got, especially squad-wise, should be nowhere near this relegation zone. And it's frustrating because I think we've got some really quality players. But then in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, was he just overly, not necessarily reliant or lucky on the fact that he had Pedro Neto in games last year? Because I feel like we're not the type of team now that's going to cause an upset because we haven't got that sort of wild card player in Pedro Neto on the counter attack. We've looked at in previous years where pacing the attack and that. I just don't think we've got enough of that now. As good as Cunha is, he needs to be sort of having to find himself in pockets in the final third before he's actually able to commit defenders. Whereas before it was make sure you defend properly and try and get the ball to Cunha, Neto, Hwang, who've got a bit of pace on the counter attack. And I think since Neto's gone, I think we're just void of that attack option now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, looking at the kind of results around us, Tom, Wolves obviously were lifted off the foot of the table, at least temporarily, but some of the results around us there didn't do well, up to at least today, had done Wolves a favour. Palace lost to Fulham 2-0. West Ham and Everton drew. The Brentford-Bournemouth game doesn't really have an impact on us. Neither did the evening kickoffs. But then earlier on today, Ipswich beating Spurs, that really was the sickener, really. It dropped Wolves then a place further down the table again. We all know yesterday wasn't just a must not lose, but the results around us, Newcastle beating Forest again, doesn't really affect us too much. But that win, as much as it galvanised everybody in a way, there still seems like so much to do, doesn't there? Just to even get to the lofty heights of 14th in that part of the table. And, you know, a penny for Jeff's thoughts here as well, Tom. It's that win doesn't change a great deal, does it?
It's hard to know where I stand on this. I mean, it's Ipswich winning at Spurs because teams aren't supposed to beat teams, are they, when they're not favourites, according to O'Neill. So that was a weird one. But I mean, it's 2 points. So, you know, I'm not actually stressing too much. Okay, granted, we have been pretty awful, and I do think yesterday just paper over the cracks somewhat. But I think with the group that we've got, I still think we'll be okay. But I think probably, unfortunately, for Gary with a different manager, I still think it'll be the three that went up or go back down. Everton always pull themselves away. West Ham will be fine when they get rid of the snake. So yeah, I think again Palace, I think they'll probably pull themselves around. I think they probably aren't far off a managerial change either. So yeah, I mean it's 2 points. It's not massive, but teams are grinding out results against teams they're not supposed to. Whereas obviously we definitely didn't in our spell. But we'll know an awful lot more in the next 3-4 games. I think.
Yeah,
I think if we're still where we are now in 4 games, I will start to panic.
Well, I mean, if we can have the match stats, the overall match stats back up again, please, Dan, because what I want to know from you, Price, is there'll be people on Twitter and there'll be analysts and there'll be all sorts that say the end justified the means in this game. It's 3 points, doesn't matter how we played. The end goal was 3 points. Does that mean a great deal to you when you look at this? Because this was a poor Southampton side. I don't know, based on the last few games, even though draws prior to this, unbeaten in 3, I just don't know how we beat a Fulham or a Bournemouth. I just can't see it. And this screen of the stats doesn't fill me with any more confidence. What say you?
Say me. I mean, you just said one of the things I was going to mention there about thinking ahead to Fulham, and they've got their groove back at the minute. And obviously we've got the shadow of Raul and Adama hanging over us for that one. I've got already feeling of dread about that one. But I think before the game, I'd said, and I'm definitely not alone in this, saying just at this point in time, I would take a scruffy 1-0. However, after the game, right, yeah, we won 2-0. They didn't have a shot on target, as in Southampton didn't have a shot on target. That's fine, but when you do actually sit and you look at these stats and you cast your mind back to the game, and you think, how can we progress as a team when we're playing what is effectively a championship side in Southampton, and they have dominated us, dominated the ball. Now O'Neill can come out and say that was the plan. But why is that the plan? Why? How do we look to progress when we're letting effectively a championship team dictate the play to us? I mean, as you said there, Matt, anyone who argues with that just points to the final score and say, well, there you go, 2-0. You got nothing much to say. But like I said earlier, this was the bare minimum from the Wolves' point of view. We did the absolute bare minimum possible here. Everyone's gone away from this game, like we said, with a feeling of just outright relief. We haven't come away thinking, yeah, we've shown our true colours there. Or we've shown a bit of verve that we've all been looking for, a bit of spice. We haven't, we really haven't. we thought that, like I said, I thought that was coming 2 minutes into the game. I thought, here we go, the fireworks going to start now, and it didn't. Nothing came. And you look forward now, we've categorised Fulham in this favourable run of fixtures, right? Fulham right now is not a favourable fixture, as you know. Some people might find that hard to digest. You know, saying little Fulham is it's going to be a tricky game, but it really is going to be a tricky game for us. And if this is their approach to it, you know, where we're playing inferior teams and we're giving up nearly 3/4 of possession to them, I don't think that's, you know, lighting fire under any Wolves fan right now, to be honest.
No, I don't think it's sustainable. I think in the same breath as pointing at the score when we were losing, it's very easy to go, well, we've played well, and you know what I mean? There's just, for me, there's something not right there. Dan, from your point of view, obviously Fosun have been given almost a green light to keep him because they've won the game, they broke the duck, they've got the win. The pressure would have been too much if we'd have drawn or lost this game. Fosun, they won't move on this, will they? Gary O'Neill is their man. I can't see them doing anything any different. Can you see them surprising us at all?
I think it'd be massively surprising if they did on the back of that win, because that's sort of the media spin they've been throwing out in recent months, hasn't it? That, you know, we had a tough run of fixtures and these are the fixtures, November and December, that they'd sort of hung their flag on Gary O'Neill's ass mask, to ever want to describe it. He said these are the games that when we're favourites with the bookies that we should win. We've picked up a draw at Nottingham Forest. We got beat at Brentford. We drew at home to Crystal Palace, and we've beat Southampton. I did mention I have sort of half an hour periods where I'm Gary in, I'm Gary out, and I had a bit of a Gary in half an hour in our WhatsApp earlier when I was talking about, if you exclude the second half performances against Chelsea and Villa and the away performance at Brentford, I think we've only been like beaten by a goal in the majority of the games. Mm-hmm. There ain't a Wolves fan out there who can tell me otherwise, that we didn't deserve a point at home to Newcastle, Liverpool, and Newcastle, Liverpool. Liverpool, Man City, and Newcastle. I thought we were massively unfortunate not to get a point in those three games, especially the Man City and
the Bernardo Silva incident.
Bernardo Silva incident. Obviously, we put ourselves back against Liverpool 1-1, and then Samaila gives a penalty away straight away. Newcastle, their defender hits one from 30 yards, affects goals top corner, and Harvey Barnes hits a goal of the month contender. I just don't feel that the performance is as bad as the league table suggests, but then I'm contradicting myself from 15, 20 minutes ago where I'm saying this group of players shouldn't be anywhere near relegation zone, and that's the one thing that I have to keep high on my agenda, because like I said, we've got too good a squad to be in a relegation zone for me.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Tom, ultimately, where do you lie on Gary O'Neill at this present moment in time? Everybody, the narrative was very much for a lot of people, let's get this run out of the way. He's deserved to be given the chance to put things right. Are you still in that camp? Were you ever in that camp? And what would you do if you were the man with the loaded gun?
I'd like to think I gave him a lot of rope. I think it was the Brentford game was where I really started to think this something's wrong here. Like with what you said, Dan, I think I agree performances, but I think actually performances have been getting worse. So results might have been getting slightly better, but I actually think performances have actually dropped off from where we were maybe at the start of the season, probably as a result of confidence, I would say.
I think from that Brentford game, since the way we shipped goals in that Brentford game, I think a lot of the players who were investing in the way that Gary O'Neill wanted to play since pre-season, I think that defeat has just knocked so much emphasis out of what's going on in the dressing room and on the training ground that I don't think there was much coming back from that. And the Crystal Palace game was a must-win for me, and we struggled to make to get anything from that game. You know, they was missing Eze and Wharton, and they had about 5 or 6 chances on that day that they should have put away. And like I said, I agree with you. I think the performances have dropped off, but I feel like this is just the the build up of how long we've been on a bad run, and obviously the fans turning away at Brentford. The fans turning away at Brentford, I think's had an impact on this squad. And I think that's why the performances dropped off. And I think even going up 1-0 early on Saturday, like Pro said, that should have been the kickstart to go, we are actually a good team here, lad. Let's show what we're about. But then Southampton,
I mean, I think for me, I think when you look at teams that maybe aren't well, I hate to say that well coached, because I think that's really harshly throw that sort of accusation. But we're not an organised team, I don't think, or at least like we might have been on Saturday against a poor side, but we're shipping goals. We ship it, especially from set pieces, but we're shipping goals left, right, and centre. I think when Lopetegui came in, I think the football was pretty abject, to be fair. I don't think we played great football. He just got us organised at the back and just shithoused a few results, stopped us conceding, and that gave us a base to build from. I think this team generally needs to score at least, and we are scoring goals, but it needs to score 2 or 3 goals to win each game. I think a better team we wouldn't have won yesterday. So I think a change should happen. I think it will happen. I think you probably do it now. We've got 2 weeks probably. It could be. Will probably end up happening is they'll keep him. We'll get dicked by Fulham, and we'll probably have a shit performance at home against Bournemouth. Maybe scrap a point or lose. The crowd will turn in, and then they'll do it. So then we're 2 games further down the line. And then we as I say, with 6 points that we could have played for there, which we're not going to get. I mean, that's being really pessimistic, but I like you say, Fulham, I can't see us getting anything at Fulham. And if we get whacked there 4-5, then I think it has to happen. It has to go. And then you've wasted an international break and you've wasted another game.
That's my concern, Tom, is that based on the media spin over the last couple of months, maybe we're not having conversations with other managers to take over from Gary O'Neill because they've backed him to win November and December. And if that's the case, like you just said, I feel we might end up missing the boat on a decent number of managers. I think Lopetegui's under pressure, Glasner's under pressure. Even like you see the guy yesterday, Russell Martinez, going to be under more pressure now after that defeat. Kieran McKenna's got a win today, which is giving him a bit of respite, similar to Gary O'Neill. But I think if they don't make it soon, we're going to miss the boat on a good couple of managers, whether it's Moyes. I may say I don't really want Moyes, but similar to what you said with Lopetegui, I think he'll get us organised. And I jokingly said yesterday, Moyes will keep us up. He'll win us the Europa Conference League, and it won't be enough, will he? It just won't be enough.
He's the cod liver oil that no one really wants to have, but ultimately does you good, I think, Moyes. There's a great question from Sean Crow in the comments, Price. If they win both games, obviously Fulham, Bournemouth, does that change your opinion? I'm presuming that's what he means. Wins both those games, and it's visually an awful 2 games to watch, but he wins. Does that change your opinion on the man?
I'm not quite like Dan in a way. I'm playing the hokey cokey with the Gary in, Gary out game, really. But if he wins both, then you can't sack him if he wins both. Because that would just create massive carnage at the club, wouldn't it? I mean, I would like to think, if I was a serious about doing it, I'd like to think that they've been talking to people already. You can't have a run this long without surely making inquiries. We don't want another situation we had before, where we had like Steve Davis in charge and the PE teacher and what have you. You want to have, get your ducks in a row behind the scenes. And we've heard mumblings of potentially, folks who may have already made their mind up already. But I think if that was the case, maybe we'd have had a decision, communicated over this weekend. Maybe tonight we'd have had the news, or unless it's waiting for 9:01 a.m. tomorrow morning for the news to spread all over Twitter, that we've had something on it. But I think it's bought him a bit of time, this result. I think if he does somehow manage to get results, you just purely from the optics point of view, it will be a bit strange if we then decide to sack him if he's like wins 3 out of 3. I get it, if the football is dire, the fans are not going to have their opinion changed because they think it's going to be too short-termism. Like it's just a short-term change, and long-term, certainly over this calendar year, O'Neill's not shown enough that he can take the club forward, and that's the true barometer, isn't it? When you're looking over like a longer period,
Yeah.
rather than just like I say the win we had yesterday, which no one's convinced by. Let's say if we get a shithouse of 1-0 at Fulham, and then I don't know whatever happens at Bournemouth, we come out with 3 points. The fans are not going to be convinced still. We could be sat here again in like 3 weeks' time, and we have an exact same discussion saying I'm not convinced by him, or we'll be playing the in-out game with him again. Some of us saying he's staying out, but yeah, if that situation arises where we win the next 2 games, I think from an optics point of view, it won't happen then.
Well, I was going to just bring one final point, but Mouldy in the comments has made a great point here. Will the same set of excuses come out when the repeat fixtures roll around very shortly? And there's these favourable games, and all of a sudden we've got a really hard, quote unquote, hard set of results again, and we need to be in a position where we're not safe, but we're practically there and thereabouts before these games happen again. So, oh man, the fixtures really aren't doing us any favours. Dan, I want you to have the last point tonight, mate. Do we see the corner flag tweet before the curtain goes down on 2024?
Unfortunately, yes.
Okay.
I just think the run's too far gone now. I think the mentality within this team is a bit victim mentality. I think they've struggled to buy draws in recent weeks, never mind buy wins. I feel like he's possibly taken us as far as he can go. When we had Johnny Phillips on the start of last season, he mentioned to me we have to come to the bridge when we get there. My comment was at the time that Gary O'Neill may do a great job and keep us up, but I don't trust him with a transfer budget at the end of the season. I don't think he's enough of a name within the industry to draw the players that we'll need to then go up another level. And I think that's come to roost this summer with the players that we've brought in, and obviously with Neto and Kilman going. It was probably out of his hands that we lost those players, but I just feel like a better manager would have been able to bring in a better caliber of player. And as much as I like Jorgen Strand Larsen, getting Andre was a coup, but we're just not utilising these players that we've spent big money on again, have we? And similar to sort of Guedes, Fabio Silva, you can see why Folsom are reluctant to give coaches, sporting directors money, because we just don't tend to spend it well since that relationship with Jorge Mendes severed. So unfortunately, I think it may be the Everton, after the Everton game. I think we might get a draw at Fulham, or we might get slapped, but then I think we'll lose to Bournemouth and Everton. I think the Everton defeat live on Amazon may be a defeat that they have to pull the trigger on. Hopefully they've got a manager lined up in that period.
Yep, I think you might be right. Listen, want to thank everybody first and foremost for their time with us this evening. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, gents, as well, for getting it all off your chest this evening. Really, quite cathartic, really, to go over some of these results. We're going to be doing this after every game, all season preview shows, review shows. Fancast is where you need to be. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that you're getting notifications of shows, because we do drop the occasional spaces, drop the occasional alternate shows as well that we do. So make sure it's all Fancast and you've got us subscribed on all of the different channels. Thank you again to the Sports Social Podcast Network for fcquiz.app as well. And don't forget about the Fancast T-Mill site as well. We can get some really unique T-shirts. You won't get these in the club shop or anything like that. There's some really unique designs. So make sure you checking those out also. Thanks, gents, for your time this evening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody at home. Make sure you look after yourselves, chicken on your pals. Have a great week ahead. And hopefully we'll see you after a resounding win after the international break.